the three-car raffle, organized on behalf of Queens Royal College. You have a chance of winning a luxurious royal ride, Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting of the school. Tickets available at islandetickets.com. Lewis Appliances, corner Trafford Road and Edward Street. Caribbean Jewelers, Twin City Mall. Mandarin Mini Mart St. Anne's. A. Moses and Sons, 181 Trafford Road. Quaysay Supermarket, Calcutta Road number 2. Strive Restaurant and Bar, Mukarapa Road. New Car and Auto Shop, West Mall. First Priority Music, Gulf City Mall. SNSR Food Center, Princesstown. Quaysay Best Price, St. Mary's Junction. Romaines Hardware, Maribel. Cascade Mini Mart. Kelly Supermarket, Digger Mountain Main Road. The Unit Trust Agency in West Mall. For more info, call the college at 622-1671 or the hotline at 491-1802. Queens Royal College Christmas 3-car raffle.
It's Christmas time, and with your family you'll spend every evening watching a movie on WESN. The classics that fill your heart with merriment and cheer as we celebrate together the most wonderful time of the year.
This is my island in December.
This Christmas, WESN celebrates with you as the content capital brings the big screen classics.
Yes!
Gather your family and tune in to WESN from December 1st to 31st at 8 p.m. nightly for We Christmas Movie Classics.
Santa's coming to town! Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him! I know him!
Only on WESN, Content Capital.
WESN.
This is test question. This is 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for being with us here at WESN. Well, let's just tell you what's happening. We put out a question to you. Is the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival 2026 in trouble of any kind? Is it in crisis? That's word on the ground coming from more than one source in the country these days as we lead up to that time in the year for that big internationally welcome festival. What we've been told by some people, a lot of parties have already been cancelled. People have cancelled their flights. Fetes have been cancelled. Tickets not moving. People not coming. Those were some of the things I've picked up from discussions with people about it. What's your view on the issue? We're talking about it with somebody who, well, wants to get answers to some of the queries he has in mind as well. Mr. Kwesi Hopkinson, a man they call Hyper Hopper. He's on the other end of the line with us. Good to have you, sir. Thanks for coming on. Yes, you're muted somehow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi.
okay. Well,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. So tell us, someone says that you are one of those persons who has your finger on the buttons where it comes to what is happening, what should be happening, and I'm told that you're not feeling it, and you've expressed that to some people. Let's talk a little bit about that.
The finger on the button. I'm not sure if that's the terminology now, but I guess I have a bit of understanding and knowledge of the situation and the industry. Yes.
Mm-hmm. You said the sense that you have is that some people are concerned about what they see, what they describe as a lack of activity where they should be.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear the question. Well, what I would say is there's a sense of uncertainty right now, especially with the political climate of the world, and what's happening right next door. I think is impacting a lot of the anticipation of Carnival and the hype of Carnival is somewhat starting to take somewhat of a negative, I wouldn't want to say negative, but I'm hearing a lot of cancellations happening. People looking to sell their reservations and stuff. So, it's some interesting time we are at right now. And our carnival could be feeling some kind of impact unless we start sending very clear and direct and positive messages to the population, especially the foreigners that would have been, planning carnival for the last year, basically. We need so much. They would need some assurances. We also need some assurances. The locals on the local side.
Yeah, I should say that I'd spoken yesterday with a senior official at the National Carnival Commission, and he said he was flabbergasted to hear that. He said that is not the case at all, and he'd said that there was going to be some evidence of what is happening even as we speak, concerning the construction of the North Stand, because that is a point that has been raised with me by someone, that there's no, up to earlier this week, there was no evidence inside that the North Stand was going up. And for a lot of people, that is a sign to look at.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm just going based on some of the data we're receiving from actual promoters and even the bands, there's some kind of concern. People watching in, they don't understand. I mean, for us here now, we're fine, in terms of seeing direct effects on what's happening with next door. Life as usual happens here and is going on. But I guess from a foreigner's point of view, seeing what's happening, you're getting some sense of concern and anxiety.
Yeah, I just want to advise people who will be looking at the discussion now. The numbers are on the screen. If you have a point of view, you can call and we'll take it. We'll have you join the discussion. 50% sales down. That is one of the points that somebody raised with me. I'm not sure if that means.
I can't confirm or deny if that's really the case. That's a big number to say, and I can't really confirm that. What I just say is that it hasn't been 50% up than before, So we have an event on New Year's Day, which is called First January, which is the first event or the first Fete for Carnival season every year. And it's been selling pretty decent. And I think that's the first indicator of how I guess everybody also is looking and waiting and anticipating how this event will go. And for some strange reason, the nature of carnival is, it's almost a organized confusion of sorts, and somehow carnival sorts itself out. The only real issue was that, I guess, when we had the pandemic, that we didn't have a carnival for 2 years. But in itself, still, we survived.
Yeah. Okay, so as we speak, do you get a sense that, given what this NCC official had said, that a decision was taken earlier in the week to begin the process by which the North Stand will be constructed, because there was a lady with whom I spoke who was near to being devastated by her saying that there was no evidence that anything was being done related to the construction, the setting up of the North Stand.
Okay. From what I've heard is that the North Stand will be up as usual. I have my views about the North Stand from ever since, going on for a couple of decades, but from my understanding is that the North Stand is being constructed and will be up in time for Panorama. And I guess all the other activities that surround the Savannah.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing with us what views you've had? You said for years about you don't think what you think it should never come down or what or.
I mean, I think it's underused and underutilized from my observation, and I don't have the actual facts, but from my observation and knowledge for ever since the last 15 years, they keep constructing the stand, and it's a lot
Breaking it down
of
as well.
money that could be allocated somewhere else, and I think back in the day when I think Patrick Manning took down the stand and told them leave it down, and it birthed actually the success of the Greens at that time, and a whole new experience for pan lovers and the use of the space.
Yeah.
I am not in the capacity of why it continues to go on and go up every year, but they have their reasons. Who knows why?
Yeah. You think it's an exaggeration of the point if somebody says that a lot of parties have already been cancelled?
Yeah, that could be an exaggeration. I know parties have been, but that's natural for this short season. The seasons that are early in February, you tend to have a lot of events being cancelled just because of the nature of it. Everything is cramped up. Parties being, colliding and clashing on the same weekend that it probably would not have done in the longer seasons. So that is more of a natural thing happening. Every 3 years it comes around like that. But again, there's other factors that have to be considered. The economy and there's again, what's happening on the political climate and stuff. These things will influence what's happening with some of the events. But honestly, I think it's an exaggeration that 50% and all those numbers are there as well while you talk.
Yeah, and that there's some evidence that people who were expected to be coming, people who may have given indications last year or months ago that they're coming, some of those people are changing their minds, some have changed their minds.
Yeah, I mean, and that's natural. But again, as I said earlier, a lot of people will be watching like international news and, seeing what's happening. And even in this, to be quite fair, the economy in the States is not really great as well. A lot of people are seeing the effects of that. Our carnival is not necessarily the cheapest of carnivals. It's actually probably, we're the premier, so our carnival isn't cheap. So the experience itself. So, naturally you're gonna have that, especially when in times like this. I think what we need to know is once we have assurances that certain things are being taken care of on track, it will send a better message out there to the public or the consumer that's looking in.
Yeah, what you're saying is that how I'm interpreting it is that there should be some kind of a statement by someone who is in a position to do that, to sort of allay the fears that people are experiencing. A lot of us need to be put in a more comfortable position concerning the bringing off of Carnival 2026.
Yeah. But old talk and fake news and propaganda spreads faster than the truth. as, as we where I stand now, coming Carnival is all go. We had a couple hiccups, yes, in terms of the venues, the cancellation of some venue spaces that we had before. And again, it's the nature of the business. You tend to, be nimble and dynamic and be able to pivot and find alternative solutions. But I mean, it's still being addressed because some of the events, in particular some of the events I am involved in, it's just a matter of logistics and numbers. We're very limited on spaces as it is, and spaces that cause less interference with the general public. And we want to have the best situation where both sides are happy, and you don't want to affect the public in, as little as you could inconvenience anyone. So we have all this to consider, and we be thinking like that. But we always limited, and Carnival time in particular, it's one of the only, I would say, time periods of the year that the average citizen gets a bump in their the yearly income once they are being involved in the carnival from a provider or service provider, or just the average vendor that's selling on the roadside, because that's to me where the money gets to trickle down to the average man, and everybody gets a bump. So it's really the time carnival period and the season of carnival should be protected at all costs, and that's my opinion, that both government and private sector, we need to be speaking with each other and working together just to ensure that, for example, all these fears that coming up now, tampered down or
yes.
alleviated. Yes.
And when you say your movement, and you say we, I'm interpreting that to mean the group of people who are in the kind of business that you are. When you say we are very limited, what do you mean? In what context?
Say that one more time.
When you say we are very limited, what do you mean?
Well, we're limited on venue options, especially for large scale events. Large events is not only the actual square footage for the event, but just the logistics, traffic-wise, song, noise levels. So we're very limited to the spaces that are available to us, as it is. And this has been happening for years, So in a situation now where, some of our spaces are no longer an option, it has put a bit of a spoke in the wheel.
Yeah, what is this is not directly related to Carnival and events around it and so on, but as you talk about space and sometimes the appropriateness of some places versus others, what might be your view on the situation regarding the sort of safeguarding of the Lara Cricket Academy down the highway? What might be your view on the approach to dealing with that and to sort of ban too many cultural and fitness activities there?
I mean, the reality is, they're entitled and free to make whatever policy changes to the space, and we all understand if the public is being inconvenienced majorly, that something has to be done. So that's fine. I just think the timing was a bit was bad timing for the time period that we were getting into Carnival. But again, that was one of the venues that could accommodate the size of crowd for some of these big events. When you going over 10, 15,000 people, they're not much options when it comes to a traffic plan, and the safety wise, the actual space there. I don't think anything was there's a misunderstanding. People, when they hear the Brandara cricket ground or academy, they think it was actually the field that was being used. I mean, the field was only used once in my knowledge of events being done there. There's only one time, and that was a guest concert that used the actual inside field. But for the most part, most events are in the car parks, and there were like 3 or 4 different car park spaces that was being used, and they would have generated a lot of income revenue down there outside. Like in any first world or any nation, that those are the spaces that would be used for multi-use, especially things like events, concerts and stuff. You see them at these kind of venues. So I mean, it's kind of unfortunate now that it happened in the timing it did, and I think that was our biggest concern or issue, that the timing. Carnival was less than 2 months away. They have been planning. These promoters have been planning for months. Carnival doesn't happen, contrary to popular belief that Carnival is a proper industry, and it's a year-round industry. Bands and promoters planning these carnivals from since the carnival, the previous carnival, or even before that.
From Ash Wednesday, plans are sold for the carnival.
Exactly, and also our carnival dictates the rest of the world on in the carnival ecosystem globally. What happens in Trinidad basically sets the pace for the rest of the year, and you have to. Trinidad is the actual mecca when it comes to what type of carnival. Everything happens right here and must be protected.
Yeah, on the question
at all costs.
Yeah, the question of venues again. You think a comparison could be made, say, with the Queen's Park Oval? All kinds of events take place there, and what distinguishes the Lara facility from that?
Yeah,
is that a question people are asking?
I have no, we never really had too much interactions with the actual decision maker of the policy now, so I can't really comment on why that space. But again, that's a public space, where the Oval is more of a private space. So I guess jurisdictions are different when it comes to those two different spaces. But again, convenience and logistics, the Oval, you have many entryways to get to the Oval. The biggest concern is the Oval is in the middle of a residential area, and but the Oval has been there longer than you and I.
Yes.
So also Carnival. Carnival has been there and will be around after you and I. So I mean, there's really understanding the, you know, it's almost like a catch-22. And when I go and I look at, you know, other festivals around the world, you go New Orleans festival,
Yes.
Brazil, Tomorrowland in Belgium. I mean, Tomorrowland in Belgium, the government in Belgium gave Tomorrowland the area and space that they operate, 100 and something year lease, to protect and build what they've been doing. And that was private sector, but they understood the magnitude of that event and what it does to the economy and the tourism in Belgium, that, you know, they had to cooperate and make provisions for this event. And you see it all over the world, where, you know, you have major festival and influx of tourists and the economy, the money that's been pumped into the economy for that particular period. You know, they don't try to shut that down. You know, they try to take advantage of it. And I think, again, it's just really communicating, you know, the importance and understanding what our industry is and what Carnival does for the economy. And that's the average man. You know, it's unbelievable that you would have the average food vendor will make way more money Carnival time than any other time of the year. And that's from the smallest man, the taxi drivers, the hairdressers, the barbers, you know, the serviceman who provided a service. They have staff that's being employed for a whole 2 months, 3 months for the year, that they wouldn't be as much work for them outside of that. So, you know, again, it's just really the communication and the cooperation of private sector and the public sector.
So what are you saying, that there should be a stronger, closer embrace of the activities leading to and would happen on those two special days in the country? You think that you're saying that the more attention should be paid, there should be more engagement by people in the public space as well as people in the private sector?
Yeah, and I think that's what, you know, the Promoters Association and stuff has been trying to advocate. You know, there's a clear open line between private and public sector to work together and understand, you know, the importance of you know, setting policies and stuff. There's the ease of doing business, the ease of booking your security, police, fire, you know, all these things. It's still very cumbersome, if I want to, you know, if that's the word I should even use. It's still, you know, painstaking. It's still, there's no proper practice per se. And it shouldn't be this hard, you know, in 2025, you know. You promoters shouldn't be going into events not sure what it's going to cost them on the police bill or the fire bill, or, you know, things like that. And these are things that, if we're really serious of, you know, our diversification of what comes in to the economy, Carnival and the entertainment industry on the whole, on the entirety, that's a big factor to play with when it comes to that.
Yeah, so that continues to be a work in progress. When you think there should have been blueprints in place to just pull out sometimes and dust off as each year goes by. You're saying that there's a lot of work still to be done.
Yeah,
people in authority.
For years, and what happens is that, you know, administration changes all the time, and it's almost like you're starting all over again. And every year it seems like, you know, I had to go through the whole process again. And no one has really, from the public sector, when it comes to dealing with, you know, police and fire in particular, set proper policy as in, you know, I should know that, all right, I have a party next week. In my budget, I already know that because I have 1,000 people, I know it's going to be, you know, 10 police or 100 police or whatever. I know it.
Yeah.
These are things you should know, you know, and fixed costs and stuff. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not that difficult to actually figure out, you know. But again, you know how it goes. Some wheels need to be greased. Especially the old ones, right?
Yes. I'm fascinated by your term there. I like the term because people talk about grease hands in terms like these, and you're saying some wheels have to be greased. There's no getting away from that.
Machinery, the old machinery. I mean, I don't know how long it can continue running on that where they have new technology now, right? But
yeah,
I have hope in Trinidad, and we love our country, and all we want to do is really see, you know, us in a better place.
Yeah. So where there should be a plan and a formula for how this thing happens between the people in the industry and the people who make the decisions, who will say yes or no. It continues to be the same grind annually as to what is put in place, as opposed to having some formats which have been agreed to, and you pull this out and work according to that because it's put in place. That is not the reality. Every year it's like you're going over the same ground year to year.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a challenge for years, you know. And again, you know, you had different police commissioners would have come in, and you know, some we sat down and, you know, was very positive. Things would have come out of those conversations, but once that administration leaves, the whole thing starts again. You know, it's the whole cycle. And I don't know. I mean,
new
I don't want to
paradigm.
say it has gotten a bit easier, but still, you know, everything is always uncertain.
Yeah. So this year, for instance, because it's well, again, a new administration, relatively speaking, that in some cases you're saying that it is the reality that you have to go over the same ground that you went last year and the year before and the year before that to get some things in place for Carnival 2026.
Yeah. I mean, again, as I said, we're in 2025, and certain things just shouldn't be so difficult, you know. Let's obtain a bar license, a dancer license. Shouldn't be the week of the event, you still don't have one in your hand, you know. Because again, promoters and event planners planning events for months, you know, in advance. So it should be all right. You know, we're going to have a party in January. Why not in September or December? We could apply for a license, have it, you know? So certain things, we just been pleading and begging for, you know, the powers that be to let's set some policies that makes business easier in especially in the industry that we're into, you know, the entertainment space. And when I say entertainment, you know, people let's assume it's carnival, but you have gospel events happening, you know, it's all the same. You know, it's all the same process. And everybody has to go through this, you know, antique way of doing business in 2025. It's just unbelievable still for me now.
Yeah, and as we close, the sense is that it may not be the case, but there appears to be a sentiment among a quadrant of the people involved in the festival known as Carnival who are anxious because they're unsure about the fact that some things that should have been in place by now are not, and that is affecting, I suppose, sentiments in the sector and elsewhere, because there are people who... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's I mean, and again, you say that's the nature of Carnival, and sometimes that actually was what makes the Carnival sweet and stuff. But I mean, for me, I just think in today's, in 2025, you don't ask on we, the public saying there's concerns or there's questions. If simple thing, is the North Stand going up or not? These things, it shouldn't be such a last minute or unclear conversation, because we know World comes every year from January 1, basically it's Carnival season,
Yeah.
So to me, I think and the general public, I think, doesn't appreciate or have an understanding, and I think it's just ignorance, They don't understand what goes into planning the Carnival season. And a lot of Carnival is powered by the public, the private sector, sorry. And the private sector is, way more organized at certain things. And that's why, I urge for better communication between the public sector and the private sector, especially when it comes to Carnival in particular. It's not, a by the way, or this happening, it's a proper industry, it's proper livelihood. We live off of this. Every most promoters that I know, it's their profession to do events. That's what they live day to day, year to year by events and the event space and the industry, our Carnival industry, our entertainment industry, is vibrant and very there's a lot of commerce in there and a lot of livelihoods that are affected by simple decisions, and it shouldn't be this something that's overlooked or it's just Carnival, or it's just it's just a party or event,
Yeah.
These are real lives you're dealing with.
Yeah, templates that should have been in place eons ago are not, from what you're saying, and then things have been made worse by the sense of heightened anxiety a lot of us feel. When I'm using the royal us here, not necessarily myself, but a lot of people with the questions what is happening next door to us, and with the responses to that from the man in the United States. So these things add up and tend to cause...
Yeah. But I mean, for me, I just feel, I understand the anxiety and concerns of people, but as we, the troops on the ground, Carnival is a full go at this point, and it will take something very big to change that, So as far as where we stand right now, things are being solved, solutions are being, especially with some of the problems we had, I must say, and the government in particular has been trying to find solutions to help the issues that we have now, and so things are happening. But again, it shouldn't be that you know, we are almost into January and we unclear of certain things. And that's just my, you know, my take and my concern that, you know, for years and decades, we fighting up basically every year with some of these issues that shouldn't be today.
You've been quite lucid and very measured in what you say, but I think the message has been conveyed. Mr. Hopkinson, thank you very much for talking with us here at 10 Questions.
Well, I appreciate the call today, and to all the folks at WESN, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and a Happy Carnival.
Hyper Hopper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
This has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
WESN.
Win a brain car raffle organized on behalf of Queens Royal College. You have a chance of winning a luxurious royal ride, Ford Ranger. Draw date Saturday, December 20th at the school. Tickets only $100. All proceeds for the further uplifting of the school. Tickets available at islandetickets.com. Lewis Appliances, Corner Tragrid Road and Edward Street. Caribbean Jewelers, Trent City Mall. Mandarin Mini Mart St. Anne's. A. Moses and Sons, 181 Tragrid Road. Quaysay Supermarket, Calcutta Road Number 2, Strive Restaurant and Bar, Mukarapa Road, New Car and Auto Shop West Mall. First